Hey y'all, welcome to the first episode of She's So Booked. Now, before we get into this, I do have a small disclaimer, and you can probably already hear it, but I do have a slight lisp because I just got my tongue pierced earlier this week, and I'm just still getting used to it, but like, ignore it. I promise you, I'm going to try to make it sound as okay as I can. Today we are talking about For Her by Elia Johnson. It's a sapphic romance. We have BDSM, age gap, workplace romance, character development, and for me, what we're going to be talking about is the psychological aspect of all of this. So sit back, relax, and make sure you get booked and stay booked. So the cover of the book, she's really pretty. I really like the dark blue with the roses and the jewelry. Like, it's really pretty. I think it really encapsulates the whole I think it really I think it really encapsulates the entire story very well, and like we get hints back to it throughout the book. So like it's a really good book cover. So I'm going to give you a quick little overview as to not spoil the book. You can pause there, and then we're going to get into like the actual book plot and my thoughts as we go along. The entire book is basically about our main character named Sonia. Sonia's black. She has curly hair. She's skinny. She's a size 4. She's a lesbian, and she's the submissive of our story. She's about 25 and a music lover. She's a submissive to our 2 wives. Our first wife is her boss, Cassandra. Cassandra's white, blonde hair, Dom, and her wife are almost 40. Her wife name is Elise. She's Italian, dark, like brown, almost black hair. She comes from a multi-million-dollar family name, and she's currently a financial advisor. She's also a music lover. Now, Cassandra and Sonia work together at this publishing firm, and one day Cassandra's like, I want you to meet my wife. So they go out to like dinner one night. Sonia, Cassandra, and Elise, they're talking it up. Sonia's like, oh, these people are clearly flirting with me. What's going on? After she asks, like, what's going on, basically the wives say, yeah, we're looking for a submissive. We think you would be perfect. Both of us are very dominant, and we want you to be our submissive, and it comes with all these rules, and you need to sign a contract, but we hope that you enjoy it. And then we get into the bulk of our story, which the bulk of it is they go on this ski trip for the holidays, and they get to explore this submissive and dom relationship. While they're out there for like a week. While they're out there, they go skiing and like have dinner together, and then there's a friend's Christmas party on Christmas Day, I think. And then they go there. They're kind of showing off Sonia. But the whole time, let me tell you, the whole book, most of this book, there is no plot. I'm going to tell you that straight up right now. There is no plot. The plot of the book is the smut. That's what you came for, okay? Be so fucking for real. That's what we came for. I think this is the perfect book for Pride Month. Happy Pride, okay? And honestly, I'm not being gay this month, so I might as well read about other people being gay, pretend like it's me maybe. But I could never be nobody submissive. I'm sorry. I like to talk back. I'm a brat at heart, and also I prefer switch on switch crime. I can't do the dom submissive. Like, it was cute in the book. I think this is really well written smut. Like, sometimes you read smut and you're like, this is corny, or this don't make sense. Like, what position they in? Like, the way they're describing it doesn't make sense. Elia Johnson knows what she is doing. She does. This was very well written smut, to the point where sometimes I'll be reading at work and I will look up and I'll be like, can anybody see what's happening over here? But to them it just looks like I'm reading a book, so it don't matter. But yeah, the book plot just explores this relationship between the 2 wives and how Sonia fits into their relationship, and then how the dom submissive relationship can affect people, and how the dom submissive relationship can bring about a connection in most people, or just bring about a connection between people. Let's say that. That's my small recap. Let's get into the details. We open with Sonia. Sonia works at a publishing company, and she is like a lower paid, like she was just an intern and now she's like the lowest paid employee in the whole building, basically. And she works for this woman named Mallory. Well, one day Mallory's like, you've been requested to go to Cassandra's office. Cassandra's just another boss. And immediately Sonya starts telling us about how attractive she is and how she doesn't take shit and how it's like an honor to be going up to be working, to be like requested. Well, we go up to Cassandra's office and Cassandra's like, hey, I have this big project. I don't have an assistant. I want you to work on this big project with me. Here's the files. Go through this. We'll talk. And you're going to be the one working with me on this big project. It's this huge honor for Sonya. She's like, oh my God, yes, like this could be my ticket to getting a promotion. So she takes it. They're working. Cassandra looks up and is like, hey, it's time for lunch. I've already stolen your time for the day. So let's go out to lunch, my treat. They go down the street to some fancy ass sandwich shop. Apparently it costs some money, honey. But they go down the street to some fancy ass sandwich shop for lunch. And Cassandra's asking questions to kind of get to know Sonya, and she found out that Sonya is a huge music lover, like classical music, and she used to play a bunch of instruments and stuff. So Cassandra's like, oh, you should meet my wife. She's really into those same things. Ding, 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 ding. This is like page 10. Like, ding, 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 ding. They're trying to get you, girl. But Sonya don't see that, I guess. She a little naive in my opinion. But so, I don't know if it's that night. No, it can't be that night. So later that week, I think it's a Thursday. Later that week, Sonya goes to meet up with Cassandra and her wife. Go meet her wife. She pulls up to this lounge. Valet is like, are you Sonya? We'll take your car and lead you to this table like right in the front. And it's some lounge where there's a pianist and this like a really fancy thing. Here's where we kind of first see the dynamic between the wives and how Sonya feels about them. As Sonya's walking up to the table, she immediately notes how good Elise looks. She's wearing this suit, little bit of cleavage, gold chain, hair slicked back into a really tight, sleek bun. And next to her is Cassandra, who's not in her typical workwear, who's wearing like a flowy gown, little bit of cleavage, hair flowy down, curled. And she's like, wow, these two women are not only wealthy, they're attractive. So they go to this lounge, and Elise is basically asking all these questions to Sonya about her musical background and just trying to get to know her. And Sonya's like, this woman might be flirting with me a little bit, but she can't be because her wife's right here next to her. Ding, 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 ding. They're trying to get you, girl. She don't pick up on it. She kind of does, but like she's still kind of like, oh, there's no way, right? After the lounge, they have a really nice time, and Sonya ends up going back home, and we see the first signs of their wealth disparity because Sonya gets into her like rundown Nissan, and then the wives, their last name is Gallows, I think that's how you pronounce it. Like, that's their last name, but I don't know how to pronounce it. So we're going to say the Gallows. They ride up next to her car in a black Bentley, clean, shiny, like it just got off the lot. And Sonya just feels a little bit embarrassed. Like, girl, whatever. At least you got a car. And then, like, the wives had paid at the lounge with a black Amex card. Like, these are just little things of luxury that Sonya keeps picking up on of how different their worlds are. Sonya ends up going back home, and her father texts her asking her about some musical emporium she was supposed to be going to. Background on Sonya: she was in this super prestigious music school. Her father had paid for her to do all these interviews and everything, and Sonya ended up getting a full ride scholarship. Well, during her junior year, she lost the scholarship, and she didn't have the guts to tell her father, so she's been lying to her father that she's still in school and that she just goes to these different places and performs, and he can't come see her at any of these performances because of whatever excuse that she makes up on the fly. So she texts her father back, making up some excuse, whatever. The next day at work, it's a Friday. Sonya's back at Cassandra's office. Cassandra's like, me and my wife had an amazing time. We feel like you really connected with both of us. Elise is very taken with you. Will you come over to our house for dinner sometime next week? Sonya's like, should I be having dinner at my boss's house with her wife? Like, is that okay? But eventually she agrees, and she says she agrees because she's just so curious about these women. Girl, you want to fuck them. Let's stop beating around the bush. You think they're both hot. You like the attention that you're getting, and you want to fuck both of them. There's no, yeah, sure, you want to get to know them. Yeah, sure, girl. That next week, Thursday, Sonya is on her way to their penthouse. Sometime in between the lounge and now, Sonya's car has broken down, so she has to take a taxi there. She arrives penthouse. She has to take the elevator all the way up. Before she can even knock on the door, Cassandra opens the door. Boom, sexy dress, cleavage slit, I'm pretty sure, smiling, glowing, beautiful. Somewhere in the background, Sonya can see Elise is in like this dark suit, more cleavage, same chain, same tight bun. So you kind of get that dynamic of the stereotypical dynamic of Cassandra's more of our femme, Elise is more of our mask. Cassandra's the one cooking dinner, so she's like, I have about like 15-20 more minutes on dinner. Why don't y'all take a tour? So Elise takes Sonya on this tour around the penthouse. Another ding ding ding, like, girl, they try to get you, that Sonya should have been paying attention to is Elise goes and says, but we don't allow our guests into our bedroom unless it's necessary. And Sonya in her head is like, well, what could be necessary for them to go into? Girl, what else do you do in bedrooms besides sleep? I promise you ain't no guests coming over here to sleep. They got plenty of guest rooms. Unless it's necessary, girl. Wink, wink. The last kind of stop on their tour is that they go to Elise's study. Elise's study is like this dark mahogany, really brooding study. And another sign of their wealth disparity is Elise goes over to something, like some lever, pulls it down, and uprises this shelf. And it has 2 decanters, and like it's smoke coming from them. Like it's real fancy, child. And she offers Sonya some scotch. While they're sitting there drinking their scotch, they're discussing composers and music and their love for music. And they kind of come to this conclusion or this realization that they both used to be really good at what they did regarding music. They can both play like multiple instruments, but they had lost a joy in it at some point. For Elise, it was back in high school. Her parents were kind of trying to exploit her talents. And then for Sonya, it was when she had to drop out of music school because she had lost the joy in it. And now they both kind of do music for fun and for joy again. And of course, Elise does it a little bit more often because she has the money to, so she can practice, and she has all these instruments in the house. And Sonya's like, well, I haven't really been able to practice. I've been kind of focused on work, and I don't have any of my instruments anymore. So yada yada yada. While they're talking, Cassandra comes and is like, dinner's ready. During dinner, again, Elise is openly flirting with Sonya, talking about how pretty she looks. And there's this gala every year that the publishing firm hosts, and Elise is like, oh, too bad interns weren't able to go last year because I would remember such a striking face. And pretty much after that comment, Sonya's like, okay, what's going on here? Are y'all fucking with me? Are y'all trying to fuck me? Like, what's going on? And basically the wives were like, and if we were, what would you think about that? And Sonya's like, I thought y'all were married. What's going on here? Like, ain't y'all married? And so the wives get to explaining kind of basically their relationship. And so basically they're both very dominant women. And while they enjoy being together, they always are kind of looking for a +1 to add. They like to share between each other, never kind of outside the marriage. They always do things together. And that they were interested in Sonya. Sonya gets uncomfortable. She's like, y'all just invited me over here to fuck me? What the fuck? I need to go. She leaves. She goes. Next day at work, she's still working with Cassandra on this big project. She goes to Cassandra's office. At first, Cassandra's kind of, talking about work. And then she kind of switches immediately, like, we're sorry we made you uncomfortable at dinner yesterday. This whole time while Cassandra's talking about apologizing, like how their intention wasn't just to fuck her, and like they actually wanted to get to know her, and that regardless of them hitting on her, that she has a friend in both of them as wives. The whole time, Sonya's thinking about how sexually attractive both of them are. She's like, Cassandra has an ass that I could grip all day, and Elise's lips, y'all gonna have to excuse me on this lisp, y'all. Elise's lips look so soft, and she wonders how they would feel on her. This is what Sonya thinking the whole time. Girl, if you'll go fuck them. But Sonya doesn't admit, like, it's not that I'm not interested, I just didn't know the nature of what we were doing. Since Sonya's interested, Cassandra's like, well, let's go out again. However, let's not talk about this at work. I'd rather discuss this outside of work and outside of work only. Then they go back to talking about work. And Cassandra's like, well, listen, working on this big project, it's taking a lot of your time, and I hate that you have to keep going back and forth between me and Mallory. So I'm going to tell Mallory that I want you to stay in my office until we have finished this project. And Sonya's like, okay, cool. Sometime later, girl, I don't know, they go out for drinks at this other fancy hoity-toity place. Again, Sonya's car is broken down. She has to call a taxi there. And when she gets there, the wives have her sit in, they're like sitting in a booth, and the wives want her to sit in between both of them. They kind of describe more about what they're looking for in this agreement. So basically, both women are very dominant. They're cool with that. They're in love. They're going to stay married regardless. However, from time to time, they do pick up a submissive. For those of y'all who don't know what a submissive is, first of all, girl, do you live under a rock? No judgment, just asking a question. But if you don't know, a submissive basically relinquishes all control to their dom. And in this case, the doms would be both of the wives. They're looking for a submissive. They only take on one submissive at a time, and they treat their submissive very well. But the submissive has to be willing to A, sign a contract, and B, relinquish all control during the length of that contract. And it could be looking for a more permanent submissive, but sometimes it does end up being temporary due to complications. Sonya's pretending like she know what all this mean, like they're talking real BDSM language, and she's like, okay, I understand. Then she ends up going home for the night, rethinking about the night and what these women had told her. Sonya has a cat. I forgot the cat name. Garfield? Is the cat name Garfield? The cat name is Grayson. Okay, back to the story. I don't know when, but at some point, Sonya texted Cassandra, was like, hey, can I come over to play you guys' cello? Cassandra's like, yeah, sure, the door will be open for you. When Sonya gets there, Cassandra's not there, but Elise is. Elise is wearing just this bralette, maybe some pants. I'm going to assume she's wearing pants, but she's wearing a bralette and like a black silk robe over. And Sonya's staring hard as fuck, but Elise goes to get her the cello, leaves her in her study to play. By the time Sonya finishes playing, Elise is standing in the doorway like, that was beautiful. What composers that? Again, they're talking music. After talking music for a little bit, Elise basically slides on Sonya, wraps her hands around her hips, kisses her down. And then afterwards, Sonya's like, okay, I gotta go. Now we're gonna stop here because as we get deeper into the story, I want y'all to know something. In my head, Elise is my wife. There is something about Elise that just does it for me. I don't know what it is. Listen, Cassandra's cool or whatever. Me personally, I'm not into white women. But even though Elise is white, she's Italian though, So she a spicy kind of wife. My favorite food is Italian, honey. I could eat all day long. It's something about Elise. She's very forward, very not afraid to speak her mind. She's very comforting. She's extremely, she kind of gives you that mysterious vibe. Like, I would say Cassandra's more of our more emotional, and Elise is more of our calm you down after you're emotional. Listen, I need that, honey. I need that bad. I need Elise bad. In my head, Elise is my wife. If you are an Elise, if you would say your personality matches an Elise, like a golden retriever mask who has a feminine side still, hit me up. It's Pride Month, baby. Like, come on. So, they kiss. Sonya goes back home. Next day at work, Sonya is like walking on tippy toes around Cassandra. Cassandra's like, what is up with you? Sonya's like, I don't know what you know. She's like, oh, about you kissing Elise? Yeah. Me and my wife, we talk about everything that's a part of the contract. While we prefer to do everything together, like building that relational side individually is also important for the health of the relationship. Then Cassandra's like, well, let's not talk about this at work. And then at the end of the chapter, she's like, oh, but I can't wait to taste you, or some shit like that. Girl, you just said we can't talk about this at work. Cassandra constantly breaks that own rule of hers. Like, don't listen to her, girl. Some more days later, more like some weeks. So we're in December now. Sonya's over there with the wives at the penthouse, and they're sitting in front of the fireplace. And Cassandra's like, Sonya, we have a proposition for you. What's the proposition? Basically, they want to take Sonya out to their winter cabin for the holidays. At that winter cabin, they would go skiing, go to a friend's Christmas party, but most importantly, they would explore this dom submissive relationship. Cassandra thinks it'll be good for Sonya to kind of get out of the city, get away from where they work, and really be able to explore this relationship to the fullest in the middle of nowhere. Sonya's like, I don't know. Elise says, well, my wife will let me know what you decide. I'm going to sleep. And she leaves. She goes upstairs to the bedroom. Now, Cassandra's flirting heavily with Sonya. Like, she stands up, lifts the girl's chin, and it's like, I would really love for you to come with us. That's stopping you. And eventually, Cassandra ends up convincing Sonya to come. When Sonya agrees, Cassandra starts to kiss Sonya. In kissing, Sonya tries to pull Cassandra closer, like in closer. Cassandra stops immediately. She's like, I don't think you understand how this relationship works. I am your dom. You don't get to control nothing. Get on your knees. And what does Sonya do? She get on her knees because she's a submissive, right? Cassandra's like, oh yeah, I can get used to this. I need you to understand that you need to relinquish all control, and you will do so when I tell you to. Sonya like nods in agreement. Cassandra gets her up off her knees and it's like, follow me. Cassandra leads Sonya over to her study. Her study is like white and silver pristine, kind of like the opposite of Elise's study. And again, Elise got me. I love me a mysterious, dark woman. Anyways, in Cassandra's study, she pulls out this thick stack of papers. And it's the contract for the dom submissive relationship. Sonya should have read it. But basically, Cassandra's like, this is just a contract of non-negotiables. I just need to know your safe word so I can put it in here. And basically, you sign on the dotted line that you will be our submissive for this holiday trip. And then we can see how that goes to see if we want anything further. Sonya's so enthralled by these women that she's like, where do I sign? Next chapter, we cut to they are riding in the G-Wagon all the way up this mountain to their winter cabin called Paradiso, I think. I can't pronounce nothing. If you coming to me for pronunciation, I can't do it. But basically, it's this huge gated winter cabin. When they get there, they give Sonya a pair of slippers, of golden house slippers that have the G branded on them. And that's kind of like the first gift that she gets while she's there. They do a whole tour and they end up giving Sonya the guest room with a beautiful view of the mountain. this is where I at least first learned that Sonya is black. Because Sonya's like, she got braids for this ski trip. Just in case if she fell down in the snow, it wouldn't mess up her curls. It's like her hair can get wet now. Cool. While there for the trip, Sonya ends up turning off her phone to kind of disconnect. And she goes to the closet. In the closet, she sees that they left her 24 beautiful roses with a little note and a closet full of stuff. Cassandra bought a whole wardrobe for this girl. Now it's time for dinner for the night. Elise suggests that they eat dinner on the patio and then get into the hot tub. Sonya's telling them how she accidentally left her bikini at home. They're like, well, there's a whole closet in there for you. We like to take care of what's ours. So Sonya's like, okay. She goes, she changes, comes back. They eat the desserts on the patio, go to the hot tub. In one corner, Cassandra and Elise are like being wives. They're being close together. They're being touchy, kissing a little bit. And Sonya's kind of in the opposite corner, just like, Eventually, Elise turns and is like, why are you so far away? Ding, 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 ding. Matter of fact, this isn't even a ding anymore because she already signed the contract. But that's the classic line, what you doing all the way over there? How the song go? You on the edge of the bed. You better fall off. Then they get into discussion about how Sonya doesn't really understand how she fits into this dynamic and how she wants to give them space. But the wives are like, we don't need space. We want you here. We want you to be with us. And I will say, from all three of these women, we have great communication. Sonya has no problem expressing how uncomfortable she is, how she doesn't know something, how she doesn't know how she fits. The wives are really good at telling her what they expect, how she fits, what they want her to do. And they kind of leave a line of communication open for her to express that, her thoughts and her concerns. And I will say these women have great communication skills. And that's a relief because, like, that's something you don't really have to worry about in the relationship. Like, that being the main plot of the story, which is not. Again, the main plot of this story is the smut. Elise is like, what you doing on the way over there? Brings her on over and starts kissing on Sonya. And Cassandra starts kissing on Sonya's, like, neck. They both filling up Sonya. They start kissing each other as wives. And then suddenly Elise stops. Elise is like, well, while I enjoy this, I'm going to sleep. Good night. After Elise leaves, Cassandra starts back kissing on Sonya, playing with her a little bit. And then Elise comes back out and is like, Cassandra, I said we were going to sleep. Following her wife, Cassandra leaves. And they leave Sonya in the hot tub to think about what just happened. Next day, Sonya ends up missing. Next day, Sonya ends up missing lunch because she's been reading her book all day. And sounds like me. And so Cassandra comes up to get her for dinner. During this time, Cassandra reminds Sonya, like, you can't touch yourself while you are submissive. Which, read the fine print, y'all, before you sign contracts. Read the fine print. But Sonya's like, yeah, okay. After dinner, they end up playing rummy. And then Cassandra suggests that they play pool. And here we kind of get into our first scene. So Cassandra suggests that they play pool, but with an extra rule. Cassandra and Sonya will be playing, and Elise will be standing watching. So let's say for every ball that Cassandra got in, Elise would tell Sonya to remove a piece of clothing, and vice versa. They're playing the game, and at the end, Sonya is pretty much down to her underwear, and somehow Cassandra, she's wearing like this long dress. Somehow she's like been taking stuff off, but she still has this dress on. So like she has a lot of stuff up underneath. It's Sonya's turn to shoot the 8-ball in. She does shoot the 8-ball in, but unfortunately she also shoots in the white ball. Or is it called a cue ball? Whatever. She does end up losing. And so one of the rules was also that the winner gets to do whatever they want to do to the loser. Now, what the hell was Cassandra gonna do if she lost? I don't know. But I guess she didn't plan on losing. But she was very close because Sonya was shooting in the 8-ball. So, but luckily for Cassandra, Sonya scratched. Cassandra has Sonya bend over the pool table, arms behind her back, spread legs, and her and Elise are just kind of filling up Sonya. They ask Sonya what her safe word is, which her safe word is pearl, and then they end up leading her to their bedroom. When they get to the bedroom, they tell Sonya, strip naked, stand in front of the bed. Now, Elise is somewhere sitting down up against a wall facing the bed, and Cassandra is standing in front of Sonya, and Cassandra starts touching up on Sonya and whispering things in her ear to kind of hype up her wife's tongue skills. Which, again, I need Elise, y'all. I need her back. But Cassandra ends up asking Sonya a question, and being wrapped up in pleasure, Sonya does not respond. So Cassandra's like, oh, you can't talk all of a sudden? It's time for punishment. So Cassandra tells Sonya, get on your knees over this bench. And then Cassandra ends up handcuffing her hands to the bench. And what seems to be out of nowhere, Cassandra uses a flogger and kind of starts, I don't want to say whipping, because this is a white woman hitting a black woman, but that's what she's doing. She start whipping Sonya. If you don't know what a flogger is, it's basically like these leather straps. After a little bit of pain from that, Cassandra uncuffs Sonya from the bench, leads her over to the bed, ties her up, and cuffs her ankles to the bottom of the bed and cuffs her wrist to the top of the bed. Finally, Elise walks over to Sonya and she has a brand new vibrator in her hand. She starts using it on Sonya while Cassandra's on top of Sonya making out with her. Now, this being our first scene, I want to discuss something with authors. Stop using the words slits and the word folds for talking about a woman's parts. It's so awkward. And why everything folded up? Like, why everything got to be folded up? Folds, really? It's so... Ugh. And, that's my only critique for this smut, to be honest with you. Please, authors, find something else to use. Please. Eventually, Elise stops with the vibrator, starts eating the living life out of Sonya. Need that. Cassandra's still making out with Sonya, and then once Elise is pretty much done going down on Sonya, she starts kissing Cassandra, and Sonya's just laying there on the bed, trembling after her orgasm, watching these two women make out with each other. After tasting Sonya on Elise's lips, Cassandra grabs the vibrator again, goes back to using it on Sonya. After Sonya comes again, they take the restraints off, and they have instant aftercare. And I think this goes really well into how their communication's so great, because immediately they take those restraints off, and they're like, okay, you're probably gonna need some ointment on your ass from the flogging, and is there anything that you need? What can we do for you? And Sonya feeling like she can have that open communication, because I will say, for some submissive, you're asked, what do you need? You kind of want to be like, oh, nothing. In this situation, Sonya feels completely open to ask for what she wants. And she's like, can I get a warm bath? After her warm bath, Elise rubs down Sonya in lotion. Every time Elise does anything, I'm going to say #need that. And that's because I do. I need Elise. Elise rubs down Sonya in lotion. And Sonya, not wanting to overstay her welcome between these two wives, she goes back to her room. Next day, boom. It's the day of the ski part of this trip. So they wake up really early and they head to the mountain. On their way to the mountain, Sonya is reminiscent about last night bad. And she tries to even bring it up with the wives. She's like, listen, last night was great. But Cassandra ends up cutting her off and is like, and there's plenty more of where that comes from. If you play your cards right today, you can have more of that tonight. But right now, it's time for skiing. And let me talk more about why I love Elise. So, because I'm in love with her. Elise, when they get to the mountain, she can tell that Sonya is kind of cold until she gives Sonya her little hand warmers. And Sonya tries to protest, like, no, these are yours. Elise doesn't even say a word. She just stares at her like, girl, I gave them to you. Use them. Sonya's grateful, and then Elise starts going into talking about the history of the ski lodge that they're at in the mountain, and then turns that into talking about the first time her and her wife went skiing together back in like 2009, 2011, something like that. And again, need that because you noticed, if I'm Sonya, let's say Cassandra doesn't exist. Let's just say I'm dating Elise, right? You notice A, that I'm cold. B, you come up with a solution, and that solution is a sacrifice for you. It doesn't always have to be a sacrifice. I'm not saying that, but the fact that it is a sacrifice for you, extra points, right? And then you don't take my protest. You don't disagree with me. You don't try to force it on me. You just stare at me like I'm an idiot, which is okay because thank you. Thank you for your help. Then completely ignoring what you've just done for me, not even saying like you're welcome or anything like that. We started talking about history, the history of where we are. You're well traveled. You know things. You're educating me on things without making me feel dumb. Love that. And then you turn that, and then let's say I'm Cassandra's wife. You turn that into talking about your wife. Everything relates back to your wife. Who doesn't want that? That's what I need. Again, if you are Elise, I'm here. Anyways, back to our story. So Cassandra and Elise are trying to teach Sonya how to ski. After a little dilly-dallying, they finally convince Sonya to go down like a small slope. Elise goes down first as our pro, and Cassandra and Sonya kind of go down together. Well, while they're riding down, Sonya's talking about how she feels so free, and like this is the freest she's ever felt, not paying no attention. Her skis ends up hitting a rock covered in snow. She goes tumbling. At the bottom of this little slope, Cassandra calls the medics, and Elise stays by Sonya's side, making sure she doesn't move too much, making sure she's okay, blah, 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 blah. Again, in talking about their wealth disparity, on the lift back down the mountain, all Sonya is thinking about, she don't want no medical bills. She can't afford that. So she keeps telling Elise, like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Elise is like, no, you're not. We're going to take care of you. The whole ride back to the cabin, Cassandra is going off about how Cassandra, should have been more careful, should have been paying more attention, how she can't believe she got so reckless, blah, blah. Sonya's fine, like, nothing's broken, nothing's fractured, just going to be in a little bit of pain. So, back at the cabin, Sonya gets into the shower to kind of wash the day off, her body's sore. As she's taking a shower, Sonya sees a body walk into the bathroom. The body drops their robe, steps into the shower. Dun, dun, dun. It's Cassandra. Cassandra? How have I been saying it this entire time? Cassandra steps into the shower and she's fully naked. This is the first time that Sonya's been able to see either one of the wives completely naked. Cassandra talks about how she feels bad for making Sonya fall, and that she wants to make it up to her. So she starts massaging Sonya. Well, eventually, Cassandra starts kissing on Sonya's neck, gripping her ass, and ends up turning her around, putting her up against the wall, and starts fingering her. Yep. As Sonya slams her head up against the wall in pleasure, Cassandra tells her, you can't come until I tell you to. You can't come until I tell you to. And Sonya's like, I don't know if I can do that. I can't. And Cassandra reminds her, you're not in control of your body. I am. So you will do as I say. And just when Sonya thinks that she can't hold it in anymore, Cassandra tells her to come. Before she leaves, Cassandra apologizes to Sonya once again for being so reckless out on the slopes and for letting anything happen to her, Sonya. And then she tells her, finish up your shower, enjoy the rest of your night. And she leaves. After the shower, Sonya's in her room and Elise walks in on her crying. Elise basically explains to her the psychology of being submissive and how you get these really high highs from pleasure, but without the proper aftercare, you're left pretty low. During this time, Elise also explains why Cassandra seems to be so disheveled about the incident that happened on the mountain. Apparently, Cassandra was not dealt the best cards in life, and people constantly take advantage of her. So when Cassandra has something or someone that is important to her in her life, she likes to take very good care of it. Hence her success in her work, all the volunteer work that she does, hence the successfulness of their marriage. And that because Sonya got hurt, Cassandra feels like someone important in her life got hurt, and it was due to her behavior. In her low, Sonya asks Elise to stay with her for the night, or at least until she falls asleep. Once she falls asleep, Sonya ends up having a dream about a woman telling her that they can't keep doing what they're doing anymore. Then Sonya is woken up in the morning by Cassandra, who says that she didn't want her to wake up alone, but she let Elise go get ready for breakfast, and that she'll be bringing breakfast up in bed for Sonya. And Cassandra apologizes again for being reckless again, for leaving Sonya in such a high and providing no aftercare for her after her shower last night. Later that day, they head into town to do a little bit of shopping. And while they're shopping, Sonya's just looking at the price tags of everything, and she's not really looking at anything, picking up anything. And Cassandra notices and's like, oh, don't worry about that. We got that. Try on what you want and try on a couple of these as well. And essentially, during this time, Cassandra's just trying to get a rise out of Elise by putting Sonya in like the most beautiful or most scandalous dresses that she can find. And I think that kind of speaks to the relationship between the wives of like, they like to play with each other. They like to still have fun in their marriage. Like, it's not that they're looking outside for anything else. They're looking to kind of provide for each other. And even at some point during one of the scenes, I want to say in the last scene that we just had, Cassandra even says like, I'm happy, the happier my wife is. And so the happier my wife is, the more pleasure you'll get. And so it's really they're looking for a submissive for each other. They really truly love each other, and the submissive is just an add-on. After doing a little bit of shopping and they find a dress for Sonya to wear to the Christmas party, they go out to eat. Elise gets a phone call she has to take, kind of important. And so it's just Cassandra and Sonya sitting down. And Cassandra again is apologizing for what happened on the mountain, and Sonya keeps reassuring her like it's okay. And Cassandra admits that she is sometimes too much and she is sometimes reckless, and that's something that she grew up being told. And Sonya basically reassures her that she's fine, she did nothing wrong, everything's okay. Now let's get into the relationship between Sonya and Cassandra, like on an individual level. I would say that Cassandra and Sonya have more of these heart-to-hearts where they share both sides of their, trauma, and like reassure each other, and in that they listen more to each other in that sense. And then I would say between Sonya and Elise, it's more of that musical component. They share love for composers and writing and music, and again, that lost joy in what they love and their passion, and finding that joy again. And so that's kind of basically how she fits between both of these women. So when Elise returns to the table, it's a noticeable brighter mood is coming from Cassandra. They head back to the cabin, and in this brighter mood, Cassandra's like, I'm gonna make desserts. Will you both join me back here later in about an hour? Sonya comes back down to the kitchen about an hour later. She sees Cassandra in like this black lingerie set and basically see-through robe on over. And Elise also comes to the kitchen, and she has no clue what's going on. Cassandra tells both of them go to the living room. She brings out the desserts, and she has Sonya strip and sit on the coffee table. And she asks Elise to go get a bottle of champagne and whipped cream. And during this time, as their guest, Cassandra allows for Sonya to try some of the desserts. When Elise comes back, she starts kissing on Cassandra, telling her how smart she is for the idea, and basically starts undressing Cassandra right then and there. Cassandra stops Elise and tells Sonya to lie down on her back. Then both of the women start placing desserts all over Sonya's body and put whipped cream on her nipples, and they start going to town, eating, licking up everything. Also, did I mention Sonya's blindfolded during this, so she don't know who's touching her where. After eating and cleaning up everything, Cassandra and Elise lead Sonya back to their bedroom. Sitting back in her spot across the room facing the bed, Elise's shirt is unbuttoned and Sonya notices, and Cassandra reassures her like, yeah, you haven't seen Elise's body at all. That has been on purpose, but tonight you will be able to do so. Cassandra starts kissing all over and playing with Sonya and eventually pushes Sonya onto her knees. Here, Cassandra allows for Sonya to finally taste her and eat her out on her knees, but she cannot use her hands at all. But in desperate need, Sonya goes to town, making Cassandra come all over her face. Afterwards, Cassandra lets Sonya up off her knees, and Elise walks over and yanks Cassandra back by her hair. She starts kissing all over Cassandra's body while gripping Sonya's ass. Elise damn near throws Cassandra onto the bed and goes back to kissing Sonya and starts fingering her a little bit. But after like a little 1-2, she basically says, tonight I'm going to be making love to my wife and you're gonna watch. Which, tonight I'm gonna be making love to my wife. I should be a wife. I deserve to be a wife. But that's none of my business. So, couple of rules that Elise sets. Sonya has to sit in the corner and watch them fuck. Watch them make love. And she has to be touching herself the entire time. She cannot stop and she cannot come until both of the women are done so that they can watch her come. Sonya's over there playing with herself, and of course Elise is taking her sweet, sweet time with Cassandra. She makes Cassandra come twice and then eventually gets up and starts riding Cassandra's face until she comes as well. Once Elise comes, both women stop and they look at Sonya, who comes instantly from being watched by both women. Boom, next day. Elise and Sonya are playing chess, and Elise ends up asking if Sonya is a romantic. Here we learn about the woman in Sonya's dream from earlier. Apparently, during her junior year, Sonya had met this woman named Violetta. I'm going to call her Violet because I can't keep saying that. But meets this woman named Violet, who is on tour with her band at the time and is just in her city for a couple of months. They end up chatting it up over composers and music and their love and passion for it, and they kind of end up dating. I can't remember, or it's not stated clearly, but they are kind of dating, but it's not really official, but they're definitely one-on-one. And Sonya ends up falling for this woman hard. Violet ends up telling Sonya like, hey, don't get distracted because of me, you need to finish school. And one day, Violet is just gone, left on tour with her band, and she never hears from Violet again. And it really messed up Sonya's view of love. Elise kind of comforts her, and then a couple of hours later, Sonya finds herself in the hot tub to kind of decompress from that conversation, and Cassandra ends up joining her. In the hot tub, Sonya doesn't really want to discuss Violet anymore, so she asks Cassandra about the party that they'll be attending. This conversation carries over into dinner. After dinner, the wives say that they have a surprise for Sonya, and so they walk to the living room and they have a present for Sonya. This present is some diamond teardrop earrings to wear to the Christmas party tomorrow, as well as matching nipple clamps to wear up under her dress that only her and the wives will know about. That night, Sonya wakes up from a bad dream. I don't think we really know what it's about, but she wakes up and she ends up going downstairs. Downstairs in Elise's study, Sonya hears Elise playing the violin, and she's kind of at the door listening. And then once Elise is done, she hears Cassandra start clapping, and she realizes that this is kind of like a private moment between the wives. Sonya kind of starts getting these feelings of doubt, of not knowing about how she fits into this relationship between wives, but also reminiscing on her lost love and how that could have been her and Violet. Sonya ends up going back to her room and is reminiscing about Violet. And now this is the real story of what happened between her and Violet. Violet was a 40-year-old something woman. Sonya has a type. 40-year-old something woman who she did meet while the woman was on tour with her band. They did meet over a joint love for music and composers and things like that. And they were dating seriously for about a couple of weeks, maybe even months. During this time, Sonya wasn't focusing on her music like she should have, and she was kind of enthralled by Violet. Well, Violet was telling her, like, listen, you're young. She was 21 at the time. So she's like, you're young. You need to be focusing on this. Like, I've already gone through this. I'm already living my life. Like, things will continue to move for me. But this is kind of like your beginning. Sonya's like, I don't care. I want to be with you. I'm in love with you. Blah, 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 blah. And that's when we get to the scene of the bad dream that she had earlier. One day Violet sat her down and was like, we can't keep doing this. You need to focus. And so without any warning, Violet ends up leaving. Her band is still on tour, so she ends up leaving without telling Sonya when she's leaving. This ruins Sonya. Apparently, she was bedrotting in depression, and she ended up missing a very important exam for one of her very important classes. This causes her to fail the class. And because of the prestige of the school that she goes to, failing one class is automatic academic probation. Since she's on academic probation, she ends up losing her full scholarship, but she refuses to ask her father for help on paying, so she has to drop out. And she hasn't picked up a musical instrument since. Instead, she's pivoted into working in publishing at Hawthorne, which is the name of the publishing firm, with Cassandra, which is how she ended up in this whole situation in the first place. She connects everything that has to do with music with Violet, and so in losing Violet, she felt like she lost a part of herself, and in losing Violet, she lost music, which she feels as if she lost an even larger part of herself. Now it is the next day, and it is time for the winter party. At this party, there's only like 60 people invited. Most of them are couples. Pretty much everyone there is sapphic. I don't think there's like a single, I don't remember a single man being mentioned. Love that. While sitting down for dinner and talking, chatting amongst the table, this woman, don't remember her name, don't care, basically starts to allude, like hinting at their dumb submissive relationship. The woman ends up admitting that the wives usually don't bring their friends of affection to social gatherings like this unless they are extremely serious about them. During this conversation, Cassandra and Elise are on the dance floor doing their little 1-2, and they eventually come back and sit down at the table, and it's finally time for the party to end and the ladies head home. Right before they can make it into their car, another woman, don't know her name, don't care, stops the gallows at the door with Sonya. This woman basically says, nice to meet you, Sonya, with a little like knowingness in her eyes. She basically asked Sonya to take her number, and once the gallows got bored with her, that she would fly her out somewhere, and they can spend like a summer together or something. Cassandra is basically like fired up, like, how dare you flirt with our submissive in front of our face, knowing that she's ours. Like, it was just plain disrespectful, and it was bold. Well, Sonya seems to be a little bit bothered by the comment that this woman made, saying that the gallows usually get bored with their submissives, and she's afraid that this is going to be a little bit more temporary than she thought. But I was like, why don't we focus on what the other woman said about how they very rarely bring their special guests to social gatherings like this unless they're very serious about it. I feel like if you're going to listen to one bitch's thoughts, you need to listen to all the bitch's thoughts and kind of weigh them how you will. But essentially, this just raises a couple of insecurities in Sonya, because she's like, Am I just disposable to these women? Was I disposable to Violet? Is that why she left me? She's also thinking, like, is this just how I prefer to be treated? Do I prefer to be kind of just tossed around like I don't care? Is this what I was meant for? When they get back to the cabin, Cassandra's pissed, and she's like, listen, strip naked, meet me in front of the office doors in like 30 minutes. And of course, Sonya says, all right, see you then. When she gets to the office doors, Cassandra is in leather and basically says, do you trust me? And Sonya says yes, and Cassandra ends up blindfolding Sonya. They end up doing a little bit of walking around, and Sonya doesn't think that they are in the office, that they actually led her somewhere else. Which indeed they did. They are now in their little secret dungeon. And Elise is in there, also in full leather. However, they don't call it a dungeon. They call it a playroom. Girl, same shit. Apparently tonight, because of that woman's comments, they want to show Sonya that she is indeed very special to them. That night, it's pretty much up to Sonya. They ask her, what do you want from us? It's about to be Christmas. Think of this as like your last Christmas present. If you could have anything from us, what would you want? And kind of being wrapped up in the thoughts of her insecurities and still wanting to explore more of this submissive relationship, she tells the women, I want you to use me. Use and abuse me. Do whatever you want to me. And listening in what she wanted, they end up putting a strap onto Sonya, and like she's sitting in this like swing thing, and they end up putting a strap on her, and Cassandra rides her strap until she comes. Once Cassandra comes, Elise comes up behind Cassandra, starts kissing on her neck and everything, and in the throes of pleasure, Cassandra starts writing again. I will say I enjoy the smut in this book because we don't get in depths of every scene. Like pretty much after Sonya asks Elise to fuck her, Elise is like, I'll take care of you, and then boom, next chapter, next scene. You kind of get to think with your imagination a little bit about what actually happens. But one thing I will say about Sonya, girl, I would have been tired by now, but they don't stop fucking, and she's coming at least like 2-3 times a night. Girl, I would be exhausted, wore out. I would be like, wait, y'all gotta give me a break because I can't keep doing this. So the next day, Sonya goes down, and the wives tell her that they have another special surprise for her, and it's a in-house massage, which after what they put her through, thank God that girl gets a massage. That night, after unwrapping the last of the Christmas gifts, Cassandra says, Sonya, you have one more gift for us. And Sonya's like, no, I don't. And Cassandra's like, yes, you do. Your submission. They finna fuck again. This girl don't get a night of rest. When I tell y'all, like, she's so strong. Next chapter, Sonya is blindfolded, tied up to a bed with Cassandra's panties as her gag. And someone starts kissing on her neck. Here, Sonya is now being whipped with the riding crop. She don't know who it is. In this scene, Sonya basically kind of admits through body language that she wants to be fucked with a dildo, and so that's exactly what Cassandra and Elise give her. Afterwards, this is their first time all sleeping together in the same bed, and Sonya is just up thinking about how she has to return home that morning. Unfortunately, they do get snowed in. Too heavy of snow for them to travel anywhere, so they are snowed in for what they predict to be another day or two. During this unplanned time, the ladies are sitting on the couch watching a movie. Cassandra has fallen asleep in Elise's arms, while Sonya is kind of sitting in a love seat across from them. Eventually, Elise ends up saying her iconic line, what you doing all the way over there? And Sonya comes and lays on the other side of Elise and kind of gets wrapped up in her arms as well. They end up putting on another movie, and Elise and Sonya both end up falling asleep, but Sonya ends up waking up in the middle of the night and ends up leaving both of the women on the sofa and goes up to her room. In her room, Sonya's up there freaking out about how she needs to get back to work, and how even though she's enjoyed her time in luxury up here, that these women cannot continue to fund her lifestyle, And she got bills to pay. She need to go home. She need to work. She got things to do. Next day, Sonia woke up really early to prepare breakfast for both of the women to show a little bit of appreciation. At breakfast, Cassandra says that they'll be able to leave that day, that the roads are clearing up a little bit, and that they can finally head home. While Sonia is happy to get back to the city, she is a little bit upset about leaving this paradise that she's been in, this kind of fantasy world that she's been in, and having to go back to real life. And she didn't know how the relationship between her and Cassandra would go, since Cassandra is still her boss. In trying to leave, they do run into some traffic, and it does begin to snow pretty heavily again. So they do have to stop at this lodge somewhere. They pull up to this lodge/ski resort, and Elise goes in to try to see if they can get a room. In coming back, Elise is visibly upset, and she tells Cassandra to get out the car so that they can discuss. When Sonia asks what's wrong, the wives basically say like this just isn't the best establishment to stay in, and the room only has one bed. Sonia's like, that's not that big of a deal. However, when they walk inside of the resort, this woman greets them. And this woman clearly knows the wives, and she seems to have a bit of attitude towards them. Sonia puts two and two together and realizes that this woman used to be one of their submissives, and apparently it did not end well. Once in the room, Sonia goes to take a shower, and Cassandra is taking a bath. Elise joins Sonia in the shower. They get out, but on her way out, Elise tells Sonia to not put any clothes on and to meet them both at the bed. Quite a bit of time passes because Sonia begins to fall asleep on the bed waiting for these women, but eventually Cassandra comes out and asks if she is awake. She hands Sonia a bit of rope and tells Sonia to tie her to the chair in the room. Cassandra shows Sonia how to tie her up and tells her to make it tight. Elise comes out of the bathroom afterwards with a flogger in hand, leather outfit on again, and tells Sonia to lay down on the bed. Elise admits that Sonia was supposed to be the one tied up to the chair, but Cassandra is full of surprises. They ask Sonia what her safe word is again and end up blindfolding her. Sitting there on the bed, all that Sonia can hear is that Cassandra is being hit now with the flogger. Afterwards, someone, she doesn't know, Sonia is being tied to the bed with silk restraints, and she ends up feeling both women sucking on her breast. Eventually, both of these women began making out with each other over Sonia, and Cassandra is the one to pull the blindfold off of her mid-makeout session. Cassandra then says that she wants to watch Elise fuck Sonia with the strap on, so Elise goes and puts that on. While Elise is in the bathroom putting on her strap on, Cassandra begins to eat out Sonia. When Elise comes back out, she ends up behind Cassandra, fucking her from the back, and she tells Cassandra, "You do not come unless Sonia comes, so you better make sure she comes." Well, wrapped up in pleasure, Cassandra seems to not be able to focus, and she stops eating out Sonia. In return, Elise stops fucking her, and Cassandra keeps wanting more and more, and Elise reminds her, "You don't come unless she comes." So then Cassandra started going to work on Sonia. Elise started going to work on Cassandra. After Sonia ends up coming, Cassandra ends up coming, and Cassandra asks Sonia if she wants anything else from them. And Sonia, being the strong soldier that she is, says yes. Elise ends up getting on top of Sonia, and they begin to start scissoring, while Cassandra is behind Sonia, kissing on her neck, kissing her, rubbing up on her. Everyone ends up coming again, and they end up falling asleep in the one bed together as the aftercare. The next morning, they are trying to beat the clock and get on the road before it starts snowing again to get back to the city. Once back in the city, Sonia does not hear from the Gallows for about a week, as they are all kind of getting back into the throes of their jobs and catching up on things that they missed over the holidays. During this time, Sonia is still swirling in her insecurities, remembering Violet and how she got caught up in that relationship, and she didn't want to get caught up in this relationship with the Gallows, and so she keeps reminding herself it was only for the holidays, it was only for the fun, it's over now, be okay, get back to work. While at work one day, Mallory, remember Sonya's first boss, Mallory had came up to Sonya at her desk and asked her how her holidays were. Sonya was like, you never really asked me about my holidays, so like, what's going on here? At the end of this conversation, Mallory ends up telling Sonya that Cassandra wants to see her in her office. And Sonya's like, why didn't you just start with that? Why are we going through what I did for the holidays? Like, but whatever. She goes up to Cassandra's office. Once Sonya gets to Cassandra's office, she tells Sonya to close the door. And Cassandra's like, why the hell would you ever think that our situation would only be temporary during the holidays when we told you that we wanted you for a more permanent offer, like a more permanent position? And Sonya's like, oh, we're just talking about this right here, right now in the office. Again, Cassandra constantly breaks the rule of let's not talk about this at work. So, like, I guess that kind of goes to show her reckless nature. Cassandra asks Sonya if this is a relationship that she would like to keep up, and Sonya eagerly agrees. During this conversation, Cassandra ends up telling Sonya that she has another business trip in Denver in a couple of weeks and would love for Sonya to join her, not only as her work partner, but also as her submissive. Cassandra then once again tells Sonya her rule that she cannot touch herself until this Denver trip. Now it is the middle of January on a Saturday, and Elise has asked Sonya and Elise has asked Sonya out on a date to the botanical gardens. They end up walking around the garden, and again, they end up having this really emotionally intelligent conversation at the botanical gardens. Like, Sonya ends up asking why Cassandra could not make it to the botanical gardens today. And Elise's simple response was, I just wanted to spend time with you. I'm getting sadder and sadder by the moment here. Like, oh my God, and it's getting dark outside too, so like it's gonna be nighttime, and I'm just getting sadder and sadder that I don't have an Elise in my life. And you know what? That's why we read the books, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we read the books. To fantasize. Yeah. Afterwards, because Sonya doesn't have a car, Elise offers to drive her home, and in this car in the parking lot, Sonya asks basically, will I ever become a problem between you and Cassandra? Elise reassures her, no, like, I love my wife loves me, this marriage is solid till forever, we really do just enjoy sharing women together, and we enjoy you, and we're looking for you to become a more permanent fixture in our life, i.e. girlfriends. To kind of continue that reassurance, Elise begins to strip Sonya in her car in the parking lot, and basically begins fingering her in the parking lot until she comes to kind of reassure her, like, we want you. After making her come, they end up driving to Sonya's apartment, and Elise asks if she can come up. Sonya's a little bit embarrassed about her living situation compared to the wealth and luxury of the Gallows, but Elise reassures her, like, she doesn't care. She just wants to be there with Sonya. Elise essentially ends up asking if she can spend the night, and they end up in bed, cuddled up, watching TV, and talking more about how music is the real love of their lives. And now on to the Denver trip. So the Denver trip, the first couple of days, is like nothing but meetings and conferences and just overall networking. So on the last night there, Cassandra asked Elise to go out to dinner so they can have some drinks and kind of decompress. During this time, Sonya ends up asking Cassandra if she viewed her sexually like this entire time since she began working at Hawthorne. And Cassandra immediately says yes, that she saw this sweet, innocent intern and she often sexually fantasized about her. However, the only thing that Sonya got from that conversation was that Cassandra thought that she was innocent, which, girl, focus. Also, during this time, Sonya ends up asking Cassandra how her and Elise got into this BDSM lifestyle, And Cassandra admits that it was actually Elise's idea kind of early in their marriage, not saying that their marriage wasn't solid, but Elise kind of wanted it to explore. And Cassandra was actually very thrown off from this and kind of resented Elise for it for a little while, for wanting to bring someone in. But Elise had reassured her that, like, it didn't mean any love lost in their marriage, and that actually it would only make it stronger because they would have to trust each other on a whole other level. And eventually Cassandra gave it a try. She ended up liking it, and now this is what she and Elise do. During this conversation, Sonia ends up getting a phone call from her father and is excused from the table. During this phone call, her father basically says, like, he can tell that she's not doing okay. He had, like, a father sense and just wanted to check in on her. Sonia ends up lying, saying she's okay, that she's out to dinner at the moment, so she has to go. When she comes back, Cassandra can easily tell that, like, her mood has changed, and Sonia asks if they can head back to the hotel to do things that require her safe word. Once back at the hotel, Cassandra tells Sonia that they are going to meet in her room, in Sonia's room, and to get dressed comfortably. When Cassandra arrives at her hotel door, she can see Cassandra in a black silk robe, and Cassandra says that they're not going to be doing anything sexual that night. When asked why by Sonia, Cassandra basically says, like, clearly whatever phone call that you had put you in a mood, you need to talk it out, so we're finna talk about it. Sonia ends up lying, like, it's just that the business trip has her thinking about her growth at Hawthorne and if she made the right decision, and how she's basically living paycheck to paycheck, and it's just that's what's worrying her. During this conversation, Sonia ends up asking Cassandra why the skiing incident really seemed to bother her, and Cassandra goes to lead on that her parents divorced when she was really young. During that time in her mother's care, her mother would always tell her that she was reckless and that she needed to behave and that she would never get anywhere in life because of that behavior. In sharing these vulnerabilities with each other, Sonia ends up asking Cassandra if she can kiss her. And Cassandra agrees under one condition, that they aren't kissing as dominant submissive, but that they are just kissing as Sonia and Cassandra, and that she sees Cassandra as, like, a normal person, not her boss, not her dom, not this wealthy woman, but just as a woman that she finds attractive and that she wants to be with, that she shares this connection with. Cassandra ends up giving Sonia permission to touch and feel her as she wants, that they are just about to make love, again, not as dominant submissive, but just as two women being gay. The next morning, they have a couple of meetings before their flight back to, actually I don't know where they are, New York? When they arrive home, Elise is waiting for them at the airport, and they drive Sonia home. When they get to Sonia's apartment, Sonia notices a familiar car parked outside of her apartment, and she refuses to let either woman walk her to the door, walk her up to her apartment. She just gets out, says thank you, and dips. When she walks into the lobby of her apartment, she sees a familiar man sitting in the lobby. Dun, dun, dun. It's her father. He basically says that he can tell that she's not okay and that he drove down just to check in on her. Sonia ends up lying again, saying that she was just coming from a musical performance out of town and that she was really tired. A couple of weeks since her dad's visit, while at work, one of Sonia's coworkers comes up to her and is like, hey, can we talk? Essentially, he ends up saying that there's a rumor going around the office that Sonia was flirting heavily with Cassandra to try to get a promotion that was coming up, and that's the only reason why she was getting all this extra work from Cassandra, even though Cassandra was married. Sonia ends up lying and saying, like, no, I would never do that. Like, who's spreading these lies? And apparently it's her boss, Mallory. Fred reassures her that she is indeed up for the promotion, but if she ends up taking it, she needs to take the option to work in a different state and leave this office for good before the rumors get out of hand. Sonia refrains from telling Cassandra about the comments in fear that Cassandra would try to handle it and that it would only validate the rumors even more. It is now about the end of the last week of March, and Sonia has kind of distanced herself from Cassandra and Elise out of fear that it would validate the rumors. And noticing her distance, Cassandra and Elise invite Sonya out for dinner one night. They're chatting up, they're drinking, they're eating, flirting, blah, 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 blah. And Sonya ends up walking towards the bathroom. On her way walking towards the bathroom, she sees her boss Mallory sitting in a booth with another woman. On her walk back, Sonya ends up recognizing the woman that Mallory is with, and her and Mallory lock eyes. When back at the table, Sonya does not tell Cassandra nor Elise who they saw Mallory with and keeps it to herself. After dinner, they end up back at the lounge that they were at, where Sonya was sitting in the middle of both of the wives when they first told her about like their desires. And they basically tell Sonya that they want to make this permanent and that they would all be, well, the wives would still be wives, but they would also be Sonya's girlfriend. They end up driving Sonya back to her apartment. They end up telling Sonya to go and get her cat, Grayson, pack some clothes, and she's going to be spending some time with them in their penthouse. It's been about a month since they started officially dating. The woman that Mallory was with at dinner was actually Cassandra's old assistant, which basically doesn't give Mallory a reason to tell on Sonya and Cassandra because she's also dating an employee who's beneath her, so like kind of like same situation-ish kind of. So yeah, like I said, it's about a month later, and Sonya is sleeping over the gallows penthouse one day, and she is awakened at around like 2 o'clock in the morning. She can hear Cassandra and Elise having a conversation in their bedroom, and so she goes and listens at the door, and turns out they are discussing her. Cassandra has been worried since the dinner trip that something's off about Sonya, and Elise is reassuring her that even if something is off, she'll tell them in due time whenever she's ready. Cassandra ends up crying, saying that she wished that Sonya would tell her the truth, that she's so naive and young and she doesn't know what she wants, and so that hopefully in speaking about it, they can kind of help her. Sonya ends up getting upset and goes back to her room fuming, upset that Cassandra commented on her age and that her youth had nothing to do with her caginess around them, that she just had personal stuff going on that she didn't want to share, and Cassandra wasn't entitled to knowing. Sonya ends up coming to the conclusion that she's going to end up telling both of the wives the truth about Violet, because she had withheld like that was the reason why she dropped out of music school, and that she had given her all and like kind of lost herself in Violet, so she was going to tell them the truth eventually. A couple of days later, Sonya ends up calling Cassandra, asking if they can have a conversation because she has been a little bit distant and her behavior is inexcusable, and she wants an opportunity to be able to come clean to both of them and that she missed them. After dinner, Sonya ends up telling both Cassandra and Elise about the real reason why she dropped out of music school, her losing her scholarship, giving her all of herself, getting kind of caught up in Violet, and how she doesn't want that to happen again. Cassandra ends up asking why she didn't just tell her father and see if he could find a way for him to pay for the rest of school, but Sonya said she didn't want to put that burden on her father because he had already done so much for her during her lifetime. And as Elise and Cassandra sit there listening, Sonya gets more and more worried that this might be the end of their relationship because of her behavior in the past with Violet and how she lied to both of these women during their relationship. However, both of the wives are reassuring Sonya that they're just glad that she finally felt comfortable enough to tell them the truth, and that they can never hate her for doing what she felt was right in the moment. However, Cassandra ends up making a mistake, saying that Sonya should tell her father that she dropped out of school, that that's what she at least owed him, and Sonya goes off. Sonya ends up asking why Cassandra just can't leave it alone, and Cassandra says it's because she cares for Sonya, but Sonya takes it as pity. Cassandra calls Sonya stubborn, and this causes Sonya to go off even more. And she ends up bringing up the conversation that she overheard a couple of days before, saying to Cassandra, "Oh, you think I'm too young and foolish to do anything on my own?" In the heat of the moment, Sonya ends up saying that she wants to call off this relationship because Cassandra only thinks of her as a subordinate and pities her, and thinks of her as a young woman who knows nothing. Eventually, Cassandra ends up giving up on this conversation and just says okay, and Elise helps Sonya out of the penthouse. For a couple of days, Sonya is in her own apartment, bed rotting, only getting up to go to work, coming right back home, getting back in that bed. A couple of days later, she hears a knock on the door, and it's Elise. Elise basically comes in to say, sorry that you overheard what Cassandra said. She didn't mean it. And also to reassure Sonya that she's not here to try to get back together with her, only to apologize on behalf of Cassandra and herself. Not that Cassandra can't apologize, but she's a little torn up right now, and she just wanted to make sure that Sonya knew that she still had a friend in both of the women, still had a connection in both of the women, career-wise, and that they would still do anything for her, even if she did not want the relationship anymore. Sonya felt bad because she couldn't tell that Elise was fighting for her, that she longed for her, but Elise just came in to say her piece, didn't really stay for a back and forth conversation, and ends up leaving. Eventually, Sonya got up the nerve to invite her father out for lunch one day to kind of tell him the truth. At lunch, she tells him, like, yeah, I ended up failing a class, lost my scholarship, had to drop out of school, and I have been working at Hawthorne. The father ends up saying, yeah, I know, like, you think I would miss any of your performances no matter what bullshit excuses you give me? And they end up just having this heart-to-heart conversation. And Sonya does eventually end up telling him about her relationship between Cassandra and Elise and how much she misses the both of them. Sonya had officially been promoted, and she had taken the job opportunity out of state, about 2 hours away from the current location and away from Cassandra and Elise. Now it's time for that yearly gala that we talked about at the beginning. We're almost done. Sonya's basically looking out for Cassandra and or Elise. She ends up spotting them, like they look beautiful, she's missing them, and the gala goes on, and she's kind of avoiding talking to either one of these women. At the end of the program, Cassandra is set to give a speech, and after that, Sonya finds Cassandra off stage to kind of thank her for helping her get the promotion, giving her the work, and inspiring her that she could do more. Elise comes out of nowhere and it's like, Cassandra, it's time for us to go. And they end up leaving Sonya there. Sonya's like, I can't leave them without knowing the truth. So she goes and runs to find the Gallows at their car. There, she basically confesses her love for both of these women. She was indeed being childish and insecure, and that she didn't mean it when she said she wanted the relationship to end, that she wanted the relationship to work. She just didn't know how it would with her moving to Pennsylvania, 2 hours away, and that if the women were willing to try, she was also willing to try. The wives are basically like, we've missed you too. It's been so empty without you. They were also willing to make it work because they take care of what's theirs. They end up taking Sonya back to her apartment. They tell her to pack some stuff and come stay with her at the penthouse for the couple of weeks while she's still in town before she has to move for her new job. During this time, the women rebuild their relationship and their trust, and eventually on her last night there, the women have a surprise for Sonya. Sonya feels safe with both of them as their submissive and also as their girlfriend. And after Sonya ends up getting out of a bath, they lay her down on the bed and they start pouring hot candle wax over her need. And she feels the pleasure and pain from both of them. During this, Cassandra ends up saying all bets are off, that they don't want to do the whole dom submissive thing tonight, that they just want to make love as girlfriends, as wives, and enjoy their last night together. They all end up saying that they love each other in the midst of all this. It's a really beautiful thing. Real gay shit. Oh my god. That's the end of the book. In our epilogue, basically, it's like June now, and Sonya ends up meeting Cassandra and Elise at their summer property, I guess. Here, Elise ends up playing a song on the piano. At the end of Elise playing, Cassandra has another surprise for Sonya, and it is a plane ticket to Italy with them for the summer and for them to just be traveling together. I think this was a really good book. It's mostly smut, and I'm not a girl who likes reading a lot of smut books, but like this was well written. But I gave it a 3.75 out of 5, I think. Just because there's no plot. Like the whole plot is the fucking, and then we have like 20 pages of them not fucking and then being mad at each other, and then they're back together. So it's like, I'm definitely more into mysteries than thrillers. But it was still a well written book. I loved every single character. I need Elise. Need her. But yeah, I think Elia Johnson knows what she's doing very well. I hope I'm saying her name right. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any requests that you want me to read, you can click on the link tree, submit a form, email me, at me on Twitter, at me on Instagram, girl, do whatever. And I'll read your books and I'll review them. Everything is at She's So Booked. Every single platform is at She's So Booked. And I will see you guys next week. And remember to get booked and stay booked. Period.